Welcome back to Cyber Sea of Galilee DSMME on this beautiful feast day, August 14th. It's a very special feast day. I think it should be to every one of us, and I'm sure it is to you too. It is the feast of St. Maximilian Kolbe. He was canonized in the lifetime of many of us, and he really was raised up to the altars mainly by Pope St. John Paul II. And why would he know him? Because they were alive at the very same time. They grew up within a stone's throw distance of one another, basically. And whereas John Paul II ended up going to the clandestine seminary there for Krakow for his diocese, and eventually going to Rome to study, etc. Maximilian Kolbe, you might already know this, he was a very devout boy, just as was John Paul II. And he actually ended up joining the Franciscans. And so, being as I am Polish, Bogdanowicz is my last name, one time my sister, who is also Sisters to Mary Teresa, and I got to go to Poland. Well, it was my life's dream to be able to do this and go back where my family was from. And so we went to many shrines to Maximilian Kolbe. And here you can actually see one of the pictures of him in what is called the City of the Immaculate, which is Neopocalano. And so this is where Maximilian Kolbe, here is a Franciscan priest, and Sister Mercedes is doing a great job with this camera so you all can see this. Here's a Franciscan priest praying to us. Why is he always pictured with Mary? He had tremendous devotion to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Neopocalano means City of the Immaculate, as we mentioned. Over here, we actually see encased a statue of Mary that Maximilian Kolbe, when he was writing, and he started writing a great deal and teaching, and he was very evangelical. And he would look out of his cell, which is the monastic term, as you already know, for our small rooms, and he would look at Mary over there. And so here is the statue taken in his cell. And he had all these cubby holes because he wrote letters and he wrote articles and he wrote on Mary, Mary, Mary constantly. He was in this cell writing when the Gestapo came and caught him and took him what eventually became to the crematoriums in actually Auschwitz, the concentration camp. Here is a closer up statue of the Mary that was in his room. Here's the globe that was on his desk. He wanted to cover the entire globe. Doesn't it remind you of Dominicans too? St. Dominic with the globe and the dog, you know. You remember that story. Go look up August 8th, okay. And then here is some of his actual writing. I know you can't really see it, but I got to touch his actual writing. It wasn't under exactly a glass. Now, should I have, in my book, I should, and I did. Here are some of the printing presses in Neopocalano, where he would publish his Immaculate magazine, which began going out all over the world. And I know you can't see this because it's behind a glass, and so, but this is his habit. This is one of the habits of St. Maximilian Kolbe. What ended up happening to him, as you probably well remember, he gave his life for another young man in the concentration camp who had been singled out. A prisoner had escaped. And when a prisoner escaped, there were 10, 15 others that were pulled out from the ranks to die in place of this prisoner who had escaped. No one exactly knew who that prisoner was. Maximilian Kolbe was standing towards the back, and he stepped forward when this man who had been chosen to be killed started crying and saying, "I have a family, don't kill me, I have a family, I must get back to my family." Maximilian Kolbe came up from the back, stood there. Nobody breathed because no prisoner had ever had this kind of courage. And he did that, and when asked, "Who are you?" he said, "A Catholic priest." On this beautiful day of the martyrdom of St. Maximilian Kolbe, who loved Mary and went home to heaven to celebrate her feast day tomorrow, the Assumption, on her feast day with Mary. On this particular feast day, when he gave his all after 10 days in the starvation bunker, and they shot him with poison and finally killed him, but all the guards around during those days said they would hear singing coming up from the death pit. They called it the death pit. because Maximilian Kolbe loved Mary and he knew he was going home to God. So on this particular feast day, let's pray for all priests. Priests need our prayers. We love our priests. We will fight for our priests, and our priests need our prayers. Without them, we have no Eucharist, we have no confession, and we've had it. End of story. So pray for priests today on this incredibly wonderful priest feast day who gave his life as a martyr for the church. God bless you. Signing off on Cyber Sea of Galilee, DSMME.